All right, men, welcome to today's episode of Strong Men, Strong Marriages. Why being right causes problems in marriage. So, look, as a high achieving man, you like to be right. It's important to be right in a lot of things with your work, maybe you're an engineer, maybe you're a rocket scientist, maybe you're a doctor. Like, you need to be right, or people get hurt. But in a marriage, trying to be right about things often causes problems. And we'll talk about why that is and what to do about that in today's episode. So my name is Mike Frazier, MD. I'm a psychiatrist and marriage coach. I help high-achieving Christian men have more intimate marriages. So some wins from guys in my program, the Strong Men, Strong Marriages program. Guys are having improved communication, having better conversations, connecting more with their wives, improved physical intimacy, hugs, kisses, sex, having fun date nights together when maybe it's been a long time since they've done that, having intimate conversations. So having those conversations that maybe they've been waiting to have, that they haven't known how to have, they're getting the skills to do that and create connection. Guys are starting to ask for what they want. Surprisingly, a lot of high achieving guys, Christian guys in particular, have a hard time asking for what they want from their wives. And a lot of times when they do, they get what they're looking for, which is super cool and fun to see. For me, I've been reconnecting with God in really cool ways lately, feeling a lot more connected with Him. It's translated to better relationships. Like my son and wife and I just had a really good conversation. Feel like we made some really good progress there. And having more fun with Elizabeth lately. I went on a guys trip with my buddies. Went and watched a UFC fight. It's been a good time. And I think mainly because I've been trying to connect more with God. So right now, maybe you're really interested in being right in your marriage. Maybe that's with money, like the way you want to do it makes more sense. You're investing for the long term, and your wife's spending too much and it's bothering you. With sex, you want to have sex a certain number of times because that's what's supposed to be healthy. With in-laws, you think it should only be this much time spent with them, or you should spend more time with yours, or whatever it is. With parenting, the way I want to parent is more important. I want more independence. You're too soft on the kids. Okay, these are all things like I have said personally, so they come very easily to me. With religion, the way I believe is better than what you believe. With housework, you should be doing it, I shouldn't, or I'm doing more than my share. You need to pick it up. With time, the way I spend my time is better than the way you spend your time. Look at the data. If you are on your screen this much time, you're going to do damage to your brain, right? So again, I've done all this. A lot of guys I work with, they have the same mindset. Okay. Or maybe with diet, it's like, yeah, look, like I'm strict with my diet, and so everybody else should be too. Like, this is the right way to do it, to live a healthy, productive, strong life. You've got to eat this much protein and all of this. Exercise, same thing. I'm exercising, my wife should be too. I talked to a big group of guys, business owner guys, high achieving guys, and they were saying these exact things, for whatever reason, guys like us, we think this way with self-improvement. Well, look, I'm listening to podcasts, I'm reading books. Like, you should be doing that too. That's the right way to live. You should be always improving yourself. Again, like time on your phone. So these are all stuff on my side. So I want to be right in all those things. On my wife's side, it's more household stuff a lot of times. So there's a right way to fold towels in her mind, right? There's a right way to wipe counters in her mind. And we have gotten into fights about these things. There's a toilet seat. You should definitely put that down, okay? So here's why it doesn't work, right? When you try to prove who's right and wrong, it doesn't build any of the pillars that build a strong marriage, which are trust, communication, intimacy. It doesn't build any of those, okay? Usually, also, when you argue about who's right and who's wrong, it just makes the other person defend their position more. It doesn't really bring them around to your side. There's the parable in Aesop's fables about the sun and the wind. So there's a guy walking down the road. He's got a coat on, and the sun and the wind make a bet. Who can blow the coat off this guy? So the first guy, the wind goes first. He tries to blow it off the guy. Blows hard. But what does the guy do? Just grabs on harder to the coat, right? Can't blow it off. Then the sun comes out, and he just shines on him, right? It's warm, and the guy takes the coat off on his own. So this is what happens when you like come at your wife and you're like, well, this is the way, and you shouldn't be on your phone that much. She's just gonna defend herself. Or maybe for a little while she's like, okay, yeah, maybe you're right, and she kind of hides it from you, and then she's kind of like afraid to be around you because she's worried you're gonna criticize something she's doing. And what does that lead to, right? It leads to her hiding, leads to low communication, low intimacy, maybe an emotional affair, like who knows, okay? So the thing is, even if you win the argument, right, you've created a lack of trust and safety. You've created the invalidation triple threat that we talked about a couple weeks ago, where tell her she's wrong for thinking that way, wrong for feeling that way, and that you're right in the way that you think, okay? Got to watch out for that one. So what does that do? It creates distance, creates less open communication, less intimacy, Right? So it creates a closed heart versus an open heart is what happens. So even if you come out quote unquote right, okay, yeah, honey, yeah, maybe we should parent the kids that way, or yeah, okay, I guess maybe I shouldn't be on my phone that much, or yeah, okay, fine, leave the seat up. You know, your wife's heart closes. She doesn't want to open it up to you. Okay. So what you create is more protection. She's trying to protect herself from you instead of feeling safe. Right? That's what happens. This is where you're going if you're always trying to be right in your marriage or prove her wrong. Okay. So what do you need to do instead? Instead, what you need to do is seek first to understand, then seek to be understood, and get to win-win. So as mentioned, my son and I, we just had this conversation, right? And he was talking about some things with the soccer team and then the way it's run, right? And he brought up some valid points that like maybe I am a little too intense with wanting to win the game and not, enough focused on letting the kids have a fun time, right? And that kind of thing. I think there's a balance there, but he's probably got a point. Right. And so what can I do? I can seek first to understand him. Hey, like, yeah, I think you got a point there. Or if my wife's saying, hey, leave the toilet seat up, instead of saying, well, you should just put it down, check for yourself first, right? You shouldn't think that way. You shouldn't feel that way. I'm right. Like, you should take responsibility and put the seat down. Okay. Instead of that, maybe I could try to understand her and say, okay, yeah, it would take me 1 second to put the seat down. And when I don't do that, I could see how that would feel like you're not important to me, right? And maybe I can just see that as a 1 second way to tell you you're important to me. Okay. So yeah, with money, understanding her viewpoint, what's important to her, with sex, right? What does she like? What does she not like? With in-laws, parenting, just understand her side. With her religion, what she believes. Just the more you get there and understand her, the more she's going to open up, right? And I got reminded of that by my own son just tonight, right? Where, look, I haven't done a great job, and so he is closed off, and that's where we're at. And I've kind of put it that way by not doing a great job listening over time. So how do I fix that? By listening when I get the chance. The other thing too, a really good way to see this is instead of seeing it as right or wrong, just seeing it as a way of speaking different languages. So my wife and I watched this show called Emily in Paris, and they go in one of the episodes, the guy she likes speaks French, and he starts speaking to her in French, and she doesn't understand what he's saying, right? But it'd be silly for her to say, well, you're wrong to speak French. Okay, you should be speaking English. And some people do take that approach actually, but it's much more valuable, and you're going to understand someone better if you try to understand their language, right? So a lot of this stuff, right? A lot of it has to do with different love languages, or the love tank, or the emotional bank account is another way to say it. Like, something that's a deposit to you may not be a deposit to your wife or to your kid or to your coworker or whoever, right? So there's not a right language to speak. Like, it would be stupid for you to say, okay, like some of the 5 love languages are, gifts, quality time, physical touch. So if you were like, well, you're dumb for liking words of affirmation, you should only like physical touch. Like, that'd be very stupid to say. Some guys do that, and it's ridiculous, right? It closes hearts, it creates disconnection. Okay, so what's going to be more useful to you is trying to become fluent in your wife's love language, right? That's what's going to lead to trust and communication and intimacy, and bring that look of love back to your marriage. Just the other night, my wife and I were having a conversation, and I just reminded her, hey, look, like, we're making a pretty big financial decision right now, and we're trying to decide, like, let me understand you, let you understand me. And I just told her, hey, look, whatever you decide, like, you are the most important person in my life. Like, I want you to know that. And I meant it, and she felt it, and there's that look of love there. Like, why? Because I took the time to try to understand her, and that's why. Okay, so I think it's useful to know some of these different ways people sometimes appreciate love and affection. So Gary Chapman's 5 Love Languages, great book, great man. Reading another one of his books recently, 5 Love Apology Languages. So words of affirmation, quality time, gifts, physical touch, and acts of service. Okay, my wife says the 6 love languages: food. I definitely believe in that. Plus, just a good idea. Like, food makes you feel good. If you get someone food they like, that's nice. Another one that's kind of unique to my wife, being kind to animals. I think that's pretty common for a lot of women, actually. Like, I took care of the chickens the other day, and that really meant a lot to my wife that I took care of the chickens. Doing nice things for the people my wife cares about. So We helped out some friends of hers recently, and it meant a lot to her. Right? It got that look of love in her eyes. The other thing is making what's important to her important to me. Why? Not because I'm whipped or but because I care about her, and I just want to say, oh, like this is an easy way I can show you I care, so I want to do that. Okay, you guys want the look of love? That's what generates it, like that attitude. So, like the toilet seat, I'm putting the toilet seat down, making sure the cupboard's organized, cleaning out my protein cup, right? Showing more kindness, understanding, compassion towards the kids, right? So those are things that matter to her. And if I can speak that language, right, that fills her up, that gets that look of love back. It's a good thing. So why does this work? It shows you know your wife. You have interest in your wife. We talked a few weeks ago about that 5-star service mentality where you're coming in like, how can I make my wife's day outstanding, great today? You have to know your wife to be able to do that, to deliver that. Putting deposits in that she actually values. So if she's more of a acts of service person, don't be giving her words of affirmation all the time when she doesn't really care. Maybe that's your love language. But if you're just trying to give her in your love language, it's kind of like, a little kid. So, oh man, my youngest kid, he gave my wife for Christmas his trophy, his soccer trophy, but she could only keep it for like 3 days. So, like, it was something he liked, his trophy. He gave it to her, and then he took it back. So, like, not a great, for an adult, right? That'd be a really bad gift. But for a kid, it's understandable. It's kind of funny. But a lot of us take that approach with our wives. Like, we're still giving her the soccer trophy instead of something she actually wants. Like, the day at the spa or whatever matters to your wife, right? My wife actually doesn't really like days at the spa. She likes just kind of relaxing. So, like a day in bed where I bring her food and she just rests. Like that's kind of what would mean a lot to her. Is that what I would want? Maybe, maybe not. Not really, right? I would prefer more active or like a fun adventure we do together. That's my love language though. So I don't want to go and try to give that to her when that's not what she wants. See what I mean? But a lot of us, like we just do that when we don't take the time to understand our wives. So it's also important to know your love language and ask for yours as well. And then what that does, it creates a marriage that you're both excited about, okay, where you're both getting 5-star service. So the other thing you want to do is repair when you hurt your wife, and understand it can take time for her to feel healed from that. So especially if it's like her main love language. So let's say her main love language is words of affirmation, and you say something really mean to her. Okay, that's going to hurt worse than someone whose love language is like acts of service and you say something mean. It's still not nice. You're still going to want to apologize, but like it hurts more, right? If that's their main love language. Okay, just keep that in mind. Understand you do damage. It's going to take time to heal. That's just how it goes. All right. So in summary, trying to prove who's right and who's wrong, it never creates more intimacy in marriage. Just doesn't. So stop doing it. Even if you win the argument, you're going to lose connection. So instead of seeing it as right and wrong and all that, learn to just speak in your wife's love language. Like, what does she value? Make deposits that she values. And just do that because you want to be that kind of husband, that you want to provide 5-star service. And when you're truly willing to do that, then you're in a place where it's fair for you to ask for her to do the same, right? That makes sense. But go first. Be the leader. Be the man who treats his wife that way just because you want to be that man. So then over time, if she just refuses, no, I'm never going to be nice to you. I'm always going to be mean to you. I don't care what you say. I don't care what you do, right? I'm just going to make your life miserable. I've met guys, unfortunately, that their wives have taken that approach. You get to decide what you do, right? You still want to treat her that way because you want to be that man. And then you can decide, okay, like, am I going to just stay married to her because that's who I want to be? I want to stay true to that marriage vow. Or do I want to not stay married to her if she's not going to kind of do this same for me? And there's not a right answer there. In my book, Strong Men, Strong Marriages, I kind of talk about that. Example of Abraham Lincoln, who married a kind of a nightmare of a wife, but stayed married because that's what he believed was right. And there are guys who have taken that approach. And look, you never know, too. Sometimes it does turn around long term if you'll stay steady and true. Right? I think that's kind of what Jesus is. If you read the Bible, that's kind of like what God's whole message is. He's, talking about how Israel has been a harlot, right? She goes after other gods all the time. She doesn't worship the true God. She cheats on her groom, right? But he keeps coming back, like he stays faithful. So, I mean, I think that's probably the most godlike way to do it. I don't know that, you know, a lot of us can maybe do that. But if you choose to do that, hey, like, more power to you. But anyway, so you'll learn this process in Strong Men, Strong Marriages. You'll learn the skills required, learn the internal strengths, the internal skills, the communication skills, so that you can create a great marriage, right? Have that look of love, have that passion, intimacy, fun. So the program opens again next week. So be on the email list. If you're not on the email list yet, visit strongmen.io and join up. It's actually going to be this week. Okay, it's going to open this week. So get on it immediately, right? Get on it today. And if you missed this time, it'll open again next month. So join the email list, strongmen.io, or apply to join. Also is an application on their strongmen.io. All right, stay strong, men, and we will see you next episode.